Welcome to our community awareness presentation. Here is your host, Michelle Walter.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our community awareness program with the Red Cross. If I could get everyone to stand right now, we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. So we're going to do something a little bit different today, and I think for our future community awareness programs. I'm going to have Securitas and the PD talk first, and then we'll have our presentation, because a lot of times our PD and Securitas is waiting around for our presenters to finish, and it's kind of lengthy for them to just hang around here. But so I'm going to go ahead and let Mike Romero. He is our Director of Securitas.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me over. And Michelle, thank you for having me as well. I just want to touch up real brief on a few little items for the community that you folks should be aware about. As most of you know, you come in through the main gate. We've been having problems with the resident gate arm. It was due to malfunctions in the system. That system's completely automated, folks. It's there for your RFID tags to register. As soon as you have an active RFID tag, that arm should automatically go up. With the problems that we've had recently, we've had a lot of incidents where our gate arms are knocked off, or the motor itself has been hit by oncoming traffic. So that caused some internal damage. So the gate arm was vacant for a while, and normally you were coming through waiting for a gate arm to come up or down, but nothing was there. Good news, folks. As of Friday, the system's been repaired. We finally got the gate arm back in normal operating system without any problems. So just be careful when you come through the resident lane, and be cautious of any surrounding traffic. Stop at the stop signs and wait for the vehicles to clear at the entrance. If you do find yourself having any problems with your RFID tag, let us know. We'll get in touch with DJ, or you can get in touch with DJ in administration. He is the one that handles most of the RFID tag issues, not Securitas. We simply just report it, and we'll generate a report letting administration know that you folks are having problems with your tags. If it's not just at the main gate, it could be over at gate number 3, gate number 5, or gate number 6. If it is persistent, let us know. We'll let administration know, and we'll send you over to get a new tag, okay? As of February 27th, Monday, Sun Lakes Country Club Rules and Regulations Article 5.02 is being enforced. For those of you who don't know that, any dog or cat that's not leashed within the community grounds or outside of Sun Lakes property will be getting a citation through my team. Not only is it Sun Lakes regulations, but it is state law. We've had a lot of problems with loose dogs in the community. In the last 2 weeks, we picked up about 4 loose dogs within the community. That's a high number, folks. So we're going to continue to practice that. If an officer does approach you and you don't have your animals leashed up, we will have body cam footage, and we'll identify who you are, and then we'll have the master board pull you in for a meeting, and they'll discuss what we can do to help you out with that end, okay? But you'll be getting a citation from the security department. So if you have questions about that, you can also get in touch with my department. We'll be more than happy to sit down and go over some rules and regulations with you. Speed concerns continue to rise within the community. Folks, I can't be more detailed than this. Please follow the rules and regulations. Honor the rules, the speed limits inside the community as you would outside. It is becoming a concern. We don't want another major incident to happen in the community. Your guys' safety is a concern for our staff. So when we have your guests or other residents not complying with the speed limits, it becomes an issue. We don't need any more accidents happening here. I've seen a lot of residents use the exit side or the main entry side. That's not a pedestrian gate. It's only for vehicles. The last thing you want to do is get hit by a car that's either coming in or leaving the community. So for your sakes and everybody else's, please, please be careful, folks. Honor the speed limits. Use designated areas to access the community. I'm going to be working with the board as well and the safety committee on what we can do to help you guys out in the community as well. It's very important for us. It's a huge concern. Lastly, homeless is a huge number of homelessness has been coming into the city of Banning and Beaumont. We're continuing to work with Banning PD as far as their homeless department goes. But if you do see somebody trying to gain access, let us know. I've actually apprehended some individuals myself. We've escorted them off property, and we've had them arrested successfully, and that's an inconvenience for them. It prevents them from coming back again. So if you see anybody in the golf course or you see somebody jumping a wall, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to go out there, check it out, and remove them from the property. Again, if you see something, say something. It's the only way we can go out there. And do it right away, folks. I can't get calls the very next morning about something that you spotted happening on a Monday, and I'm getting the call on a Wednesday. Let us know that very moment, and we'll try to take care of it right away, okay? Any questions real quick before I head out of here? Yes, ma'am.
I have some very disturbing news about wandering groups on the north side golf course.
So inside the community in the golf course? Okay.
Inside the community harassing community
Okay.
members, and I would hope that you would step up your patrolling on the golf course.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is a great suggestion, and I will discuss this with the master board as well to see what we can do to gain more access inside the golf courses. As you know, our patrol vehicles aren't really designed to go inside the golf course. We will get off of our vehicles, though. I personally have walked the golf course in the northern side and checked the ravines and areas like that where we have reported or we've seen reports of homeless encampments or trespassers. But we're going to continue to work diligently with that with the master board to see what we can do to get better access inside the golf course right away for that as well, okay? Thank you for your time, folks. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, we have Sergeant, and I am not going to try Sergeant Roberto. I still can't get the hang of your last name.
Hello, Sergeant Howdegi, Banning Police, the Homeless Liaison Officer Supervisor. I just wanted to share a couple of statistics with you guys. As we mentioned previously, we have a Homeless Liaison Officer working for the department. This past month, he made 5 felony arrests, 22 misdemeanor arrests, dismantled approximately 43 homeless encampments, whether that be tents and so forth, along the tracks throughout the city next to businesses. We continue to diligently work with this issue. We're trying to get another officer on board, but we need the buy-in from the community, the council to fund another position. I think that it's imperative that we have 2 officers out there, especially when, you know, I'm sending my officer down into the ditches, the wash by themselves. It's a big officer safety issue. So it's concerning for all of us. But like I said, we do our best with what we have and our resources with our CBAT. In fact, Janet, our therapist from the county health services, is riding out with Officer Hickson. He was supposed to be here today, but he just had to arrest someone over here at the hotel over on Joshua Palmer. What is that? At the Hampton Inn. He just made an arrest, so he's a little tied up at the moment. And it's related to homeless. So anyway, it just goes to show what we're doing diligently all day. I would say homeless calls are probably 60 to 70% of the call volume that we get for calls for service throughout the day. And that's why, you know, I've been trying to push to get a second officer so that we can deal with the problem a little bit more efficiently. But other than that, are there any questions here? Yes.
Just a minute. You have to use a microphone, please.
I find this hard to believe, but at our meeting yesterday, one of our citizens is saying he's calling 911 on the gang situation across the street, and that 911 is not answering the phone. I've heard that a couple times.
So-
I find it extremely hard to believe.
I can't say that that's not happening. However, when you call 911, whether it be from a cell phone, that goes to CHP dispatch, and we have nothing to do with that. They typically transfer and filter the calls to whether fire, police, paramedics, but it is fielded through CHP. So sometimes I have heard that in the past, so I can't say that it didn't happen, but it's likely, it's probable.
It's relating to young gangs, he's calling, rolling on our fairways on the north side.
Gangs. Oh, okay. Okay. So if
We
you-
need to use a microphone.
He's saying that there's a young gang, a gentleman who is hopping over the gate at a certain section of the club, two guys, two gangs. And allegedly, this young lady got assaulted yesterday? Before. So if you do see anything suspicious, anyone that doesn't belong, anyone that raises question, you call either Securitas, your security, or you can call us. If there is a crime occurring, call 911, call Banning Police, and we'll come out as quickly as we can. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Sergeant. Okay, I need to remind you, if you're going to speak, you must use the microphone. This is being taped on Channel 97, and they can't hear you because they can't see you. Your back is to them, and they cannot hear you. So please, if you're going to speak, I will come around and I will give you the microphone. So I'm just going to say a couple of little things real quick, and then we'll start our presentation. Sorry to put my glasses on. Okay, I got a call from a couple of people asking, because of the East Palestine derailment in Ohio, they wanted to know what our train through here carries, the freight. So I contacted Lupe from Pacific Railroad, thank you, Pacific Railroad, and it says here, this is what she said to me: UP, Union Pacific, as a Class 1 railroad, is a common carrier and required by federal law to carry hazmat. We work with first responders in all of the counties we operate in. The cars that contain hazmat belong to the customer, but are also inspected by our staff. Military moves can also be classified as hazmat, as is chlorine for water treatment facilities. Hazmat will either move by train or truck, so we believe it's safer to move via railroad. So this came from Union Pacific. So if she's watching right now, she's not here, but if she's watching right now, this is the answer to your question. Yes, they do carry hazmat, and yes, they do have first responders that will respond in all of the counties. Okay, one other thing I just want to say real quick. For next month, our Banning Business Expo, please come out and support our Banning businesses. The Community Awareness Program and the Community Ambassador, Beverly Rashid, at the Sun Lakes Country Club is excited to partner with Banning Chamber of Commerce to showcase their businesses in Banning. Come and join us and get to know your businesses here in Banning. Visit each booth and get information on what our businesses have to offer, light refreshments and door prizes. Light refreshments will be served, and then we're going to have door prizes also. So please come out next month. It is on Tuesday, April 4th, but it is in the evening. It's from 5 to 8, and the reason we had to do that is because those businesses work during the day. So they'll be able to come in the evening time, and we're hoping to have about 35, 40, 50 of them out here. So please come out and support our Banning businesses. We like to keep our money here in Banning instead of going over to Beaumont and spend your money. Keep it here in Banning. Okay, so now I would like to introduce, before I do that, I want to introduce Joanne Roberts. She is in the back, and if you have not signed up to get your smoke alarms, smoke detectors, you can go back there and she will sign you up to get your smoke detectors. So now I would like to introduce Ken Rieger. Oh, I'm sorry, hang on. I'm sorry, I've got to do one more thing. Our board president, Bob Walter.
I just wanted to mention that the reason for the change on the enforcement of the leash laws is because of the community awareness program. Because it came up last month, and we as a board decided to go ahead and begin enforcing the state law because we had complaints not only from here but from other membership in our community. So keep up the good work.
Okay, Ken, now you may go ahead and do your presentation.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm glad I didn't bring my dog today because he doesn't like to be on a leash. He's a therapy dog. He's great. Closer? Okay, I can hear it now. I usually don't use a microphone, and it's a little strange for me. But my name is Ken Rieger. I've been with the Red Cross as a volunteer for 15 years this month. And primarily I do disaster response. We do single-family fires, multifamily fires, forest fires, and doing sheltering and feeding. There's quite a bit to the emergency response side. And it's really nice to come out to a facility like this and see so many people, plus whoever is at home watching as well. It's nice to see the involvement that you have here. Let me get my clicker here and we shall begin. First, the American Red Cross, it's a humanitarian organization. It's volunteer run. I've heard different percentages from 92 to 96% volunteers. So we have a very small number of paid staff. And they earn every dollar that they make. But it's primarily volunteers like myself that run the Red Cross and all the emergencies that we respond to. Disaster relief is to anyone that needs assistance. So if there's a disaster like we have right now with those people up in the mountains, anybody that comes to that shelter that needs help, they get it. We don't care where they're coming from, whether they have a $2 million home up there or if they're living in a cardboard shack in the woods somewhere. If they're affected by a disaster, they're welcome in our shelters. We're not a government agency. We are strictly funded by donations and grants. So when you send $1, you're supporting the Red Cross disaster relief. When you give blood, the Red Cross handles that blood and does whatever they do to it, and then they give it to the hospitals. Well, they sell it to the hospitals. They have to pay for it, but that money goes into the Red Cross programs as well. So everything we do is to support the disaster relief. No tax dollars goes towards the American Red Cross. Let's see, every day we're teaching courses to prevent tragedies and local disasters. We work with our cities, our state, local governments, federal governments to help plan for catastrophes if they evolve. Red Cross volunteers from all 50 states will be deployed as necessary to work a disaster. I worked in Pennsylvania in a shelter several years ago, and I was working with a volunteer from Hawaii. So who is the Red Cross? You're the Red Cross. You're the people that help fund our programs and our responses, so you're very much a part of the Red Cross. This is our mission statement. And it says, the American Red Cross prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of the volunteers and the generosity of our donors. We can't do it without the volunteers, and we can't do it without the donations. But that is our mission statement. Why prepare? To keep a disaster from becoming a catastrophe. Do you know the difference between a disaster and a catastrophe? She does. No. If your house burns down, that's a disaster. If my house burns down, that's a catastrophe. And you laugh, and I always laughed at it too, but the reality is when we go out to a response and someone's standing on the curb with their nightgown on, watching their house burn down, let me tell you, that's a catastrophe to those people. It is. But it's a good joke. Okay. Why prepare? We use awareness, knowledge, and planning, and taking action in advance, not afterwards. It's too late afterwards. For today, we're just going to get thinking about preparing your home, your family. Anybody work here? Oh, geez. Get out of here. You have to go to work. Being retired is the best job I ever had. But if you do work, it's very important, or if you have family members that work, it's important that they be prepared at work, because if something happens, an earthquake, and they're at work, they may be stuck at work, or they may not be able to get to work. But the worst part is not being able to leave and get home. So they have to be prepared for that. So we want to increase your preparedness knowledge, and we'll try working on that. What are some of our local hazards? We have a website through Riverside County that if you put in your zip code, they'll tell you what the hazards are in your area. So of course, I'm not from this area. I wanted to check on it yesterday, and of course the website is down for right now. So I can tell you that earthquakes are definitely a hazard here. I don't know what faults run through here or near here, but a lot. So we have, the San Andreas fault, which is going to affect everybody on either side of it. Fires, single-family fires, multifamily fires, high winds, high temperatures. There's a number of them. We'll take a look at some more as we go along. What should we expect from a regional disaster? What should we do during an earthquake? What information should you share with your family, your coworkers, and your neighbors? And what resources are available to help you prepare? Okay, so your personal knowledge can make a big difference before something happens. Okay, most of you, I think, picked up the handouts. This is just one of them. I'm not going to spend that much time. But things I've learned while responding to disasters, and I've gone and responded to hurricanes back east, flooding in Mississippi, and so on. But I've learned a lot of things going on these deployments. Very few people, if any, are prepared. It's just the fact of life. It'll never happen to me mentality. Don't worry, I'll take care of my family. People expect the city, the county, the state, and federal agencies to step in and help them immediately. It ain't going to happen. A major earthquake, you're not going to see anybody around probably for days. So you're going to be on your own. People don't understand the consequences of electrical power and utilities being disrupted for long periods of time. I'm sure you have electrical outages here every once in a while, and it's an inconvenience. Maybe the water will go out for a couple hours or something like that. Picture that for days on end, weeks. It is a big deal. Can you prepare for the following disasters? It's hard to even imagine this. And this is in Photoshop. Real McCoy here. It's hard to imagine to a few homes. Can you imagine a whole city, a community? And that includes homes and stores and restaurants and grocery stores and pharmacies. I know you've all seen this. It's just a fact of life here. It's one of the California seasons. Can you imagine standing there and watching your house burn down like that? Imagine the whole community burning down. And this is what we see time and time again, people just sifting through the ashes, trying to hoping to find something that was left. It's very sad. What's really nice is companies like Home Depot and Lowe's, they come in and they build little screens. It's hard to do this with a microphone. And they sift through the ashes, and it's amazing what they come up with. Single-family fires, It's just devastating to that person. They don't care what's happening all around them. They're concerned what's standing in front of them right at that time. This is from the earthquake up in Northridge. You know, you survive this thing and you figure you're going to get to your car and go over to a family member's house. And then you go around to your car and you can't get to it. You know, buildings just collapsing and the earthquakes, we still see this. So can I possibly get prepared? Sure you can. It's just a matter of getting ahead of it and spending some time and money. You can do it. And the way we recommend it, not just us, but all of the California and government agencies say, get a kit, make a plan, and be informed. Well, you're starting at the bottom here. You're getting informed now. You just need to make a plan and make a kit, and get a kit. So local hazards, wildfires is always a problem. Flooding is always a problem. Landslides after the rains is a problem. And we have a problem now because of all this snow up in the mountains, and now we're getting warmer weather. That's going to start melting, and it's going to create havoc. Earthquakes, absolutely. Home fires, sure. Windstorms coming through. It's amazing. I went out to Mecca several years ago, and we're driving down the road to get to the where the shelter was set up, and these humongous utility poles, you know, they're probably 2 feet in diameter, are just broken over like matchsticks, all the way down. And the wires, of course, are hanging down as well. Transportation, we had in Riverside, we had a plane crash a couple of years ago. Power outages always. It's a terrible thing, but you know, terrorism has been on this list for way too long. Dam failures. I don't know if there's any dams in this area, but that definitely creates a problem for anybody living downstream from it. Chemical and nuclear accidents. You know, you're talking about the trains in Ohio, and we had one recently in Paris, and we have to evacuate communities and open shelters. Tsunamis. Do we have tsunami problems here? Well, we'll see. Tornadoes. I've heard of tornadoes in the area occasionally. And pandemic flu. We never get pandemic flus, do we? Oh, no. This list keeps getting longer and longer. It's terrible. These are just a list of some of the dams in the area and when they were built. And a lot of the dams are built in 1928, 1938, 1985, 1941. So these dams are old. So communities that have them have to be very concerned about them. Wildfires, they're a year-round danger. It used to be just the summer. Now it's all year round. This rain is fantastic. But what's it going to cause? All this growth in the forests, and then by a couple of months from now, everything dries out, and we have kindling. So as far as wildfires go, we have a saying, ready, set, go. And we'll go through these steps in just a moment, but we want to maintain a green space and clearance around your property. Harden your home with fire-resistant materials, and have an evacuation plan, not only from your house, but from your community. And the plan includes where you're going to meet up. And you can go to readyforwildfire.org to learn more about that. So it's readyforwildfire.org. The county mass notification system. Are any of you familiar with this? I hope so. If you have a landline, which many people don't have anymore, that's automatically set up into the system. It uses the 911 database, and you will get a recorded message with whatever the emergency happens to be and explaining what you need to do. If you have cell phones, and you want to get a phone call or a text, you need to go to the www.rvc, Riverside County, fire.org, and you can register your cell phone, and then you can say if you want a text message or a call. So that's www.rvc, Riverside County, fire.org. Yes. Oh, sure. Thank God for cell phones, huh? Okay. If you want, I can stand over here and you can get me in there. Okay, we have different warnings, watches, and evacuation orders. And just so you understand what each means, a watch means the conditions are unfavorable. So from May through October, we usually have a red watch or red warnings, fire hazards. But a watch is just that the conditions are right, and something could happen at any moment. So you just need to be aware. And maybe depending on where you live, you might want to start taking some action to get ready in case you do have to evacuate. A warning is something's happening right now. A fire broke out or whatever it may be. Once again, pay attention. Where is this fire? Could it affect you in the next 24 hours? If it's relatively close to you, yeah, you want to start putting your stuff together and being prepared. And then an evacuation warning is telling you you need to leave. They can't make you leave, but you really should. If you don't leave, I consider it a very selfish thing, because when you finally realize that little garden hose is not going to stop a fire that's raging, and you pick up the phone and you say, hey, I need help, now you're putting the first responders into more danger, because now they have to come into that area to get you out. And these guys aren't sitting around the fire station, drinking beer. They're out fighting fires and protecting other homes. So now you're drawing them away from where they're really needed. So if they tell you to evacuate, evacuate, okay? It's really, really important. It says here, grab your kids and your pets. Not necessarily in that order, okay? A go bag. You should have a go bag, like in the hall closet or something like that you can just grab it, go out the door, and be prepared for the next several days, okay? During the mountain fires, I guess that's about 6 or 8 years ago, I don't remember, I can't remember dates anymore, I was doing a damage assessment, and I went to this one home, and they had a small ranch, and they had horses and chickens and livestock like that. And they were given a warning, and they were really had their act together. They had a little two-stall trailer for horses. They loaded it up with whatever they wanted to take with them. So all they had to do is hook up their truck to it and leave. The guy said the fire came over the hill so fast, they didn't have time to hook up the truck to the trailer. And the only thing that was left there was melted aluminum on the ground. So when I say, when the fires are just really ripping, along and the winds are blowing, it moves very, very fast. Listen to your local, they call it EAS. We have acronyms for everything. Emergency Alerting Station. In Riverside, it's usually 1610. Sometimes certain cities will have their own frequency, but AM stations. Listen to it, find out what's going on, and pay attention to it. I'm sorry. Okay. Evacuation kit. This is the basics. Prepare a go bag for each person and pet for 3 to 5 days. 5 to 7 days is better. 7 to 10 days is really more realistic. It's a lot of stuff. you may not be able to carry that. Because one of the things that we have to do is carry enough water with us. And water is very heavy. But include important documents. You may need your insurance policies, your medical policies, things like that. You know, we don't expect you to, run off copies of all this stuff. You all know what a travel drive is, or a thumb disk, or something, whatever they call them. You know, you put it on that, and you keep it in your go bag, and you have everything you need. What's really good is to have contact numbers. You know, since cell phones and auto dial and all that, nobody knows a number anymore. So have a sheet with everybody's phone number that you would be contacting and put it on the thumb drive. Personal items like glasses. I couldn't get out the door without mine. I doubt if anybody here is on medication, so that shouldn't be a problem. But medication is really important because you may not be able to get to a pharmacy. It takes a lot of drugs to keep this body going. And I make sure that I have at least a week's worth of medication in my go bag. All you have to do is go down to the pharmacy and say, yeah, I'd like another 10 days of medication, right? And they'll just crank it out for you, right? No. The insurance company's not going to, do that. But what I do, and someone told me this, is when I get a new prescription, let's say 30-day or 90-day, I'll take either 1 or 2 pills out of that bottle and put it in a reserve for my go bag. And after a couple of months, you'll be surprised how fast it builds up. You just have to remember to rotate it so it doesn't go bad. That's important. But any medications you need, hearing aids, dental, whatever they call them now, clothing, toiletries, and sturdy shoes. You buy a new pair of shoes, put the old ones in your go bag, and they're in there, and you'll have them. Cash and small bills. ATMs are going to be down. The computer systems are going to be down at stores, so they're not going to be able to take your credit card. And if you only have large bills, 50s and 100s, and you need a roll of toilet paper, you may be spending $50 for a roll of toilet paper. During the pandemic, it was probably worth it. But, so have small bills, 1s, 5s, 10s. Pre-identify what you would like to take with you. The fire or the earthquakes happened, and you need to get out of the house, and you're going, well, let's see, what should I take? Not the time to be making that decision. What I do is I make up a list for each room. So for the office, and I list the items in my office that I really, need to take with me. In the garage, our great room, master bedroom, and include things like, photo albums and things like that. My brother's paintings, definitely want to take those along. In the master bedroom, all my wife's jewelry. My mom's quilt, that's kind of special to me. Guns, in both safes. Okay, I'm a Republican. Whatever it is, make a list of it. And you just go down the list and you start grabbing and keep going like that. Exterior. Shut off the propane or the gas to the house. Shut off the water to the house. I have nice teak outside furniture. Move it away from the house, because if that starts burning, we don't want it burning up against the house. Reprogram sprinklers to water for 2 hours. I just have to go to a different program, and it automatically does that for me. And also, I can turn the water off to the house, and my irrigation system still works. Put away the patio umbrellas in the garage. Not because I'm worried they're going to spread the fire, but they're expensive to replace. And pull large plants away from the house, because they can start burning and then get into the eaves. So you want to do that. This is really important. Close all interior doors before leaving if you're evacuating because of a fire. It's amazing what a closed bedroom door will do for you. I see a couple people are writing, so. Okay? Tsunamis. You all said, nah. You ever go to the beach? Like to go to Hawaii for a vacation? Tahiti? Bahamas? You know, it's not just where you live. You know, a distance earthquake, you know, in Japan can and has created tsunami effects on the western U.S. Cities. Locally generated. It can hit the shoreline in minutes. Any size earthquake can trigger a tsunami. It just depends on the strength of it. Know the warning signals. A lot of cities have evacuation signs, tsunami evacuation signs on the street, telling you what direction to go, like in New York. There's always somebody there in New York to tell you where to go. Always. I'm from New York, so in case you haven't figured out my accent yet. So just in the back of your mind, consider these things when you go different places. If you're prepared for an earthquake, you're pretty much prepared for any other emergency that can come up. It covers just all the bases. You know, we all heard this. This is earthquake country. Nobody knows when they're going to come, what time, what season of the year they're going to come. They just come, and whenever they're ready. Now, you've probably read about or heard about earthquake warnings. You know, they give you 15 or 30 seconds warning. I don't know you, but that takes me 15, 30 seconds just to get out of my chair when I hear about it. It's not going to do much for you. You have to be prepared because we're really overdue for a large earthquake. So you have to be prepared in advance. There's going to be an earthquake. It may not be in our lifetime, but there's going to be a big one. It could be happening right now up in San Francisco, or it may happen here tomorrow. We just don't know. We have hundreds of faults underneath Southern California, many of them which we don't know about. Northridge, we didn't even know about that fault. You know, we do now. And earthquakes cause secondary impact, and that's like fires and you know, things dropping on us and things like that, power outages, floods. So there's a lot of secondary impacts. You've probably all seen this San Andreas Fault, Northern California. Had one in 1906. And these happen about every 150 years. So they're in pretty good shape. So they're not due until 2056. It doesn't mean they're not going to get one next week. This is, you know, ballpark figuring. Central California, they call that the creeping segment. It doesn't really cause a lot of large earthquakes, at least up till now. It could. And then we have the southern end of the San Andreas Fault. 1680. Add 150 to 1680. Then add another 150 to it. You know, it's due. It's due. We don't know when, but it's way overdue. What to expect along the San Andreas Fault: major utility lines, power, rail, telecommunications that cross the fault line around the El Cajon Pass. 80% of our resources are east of the San Andreas Fault. But 80% of our population is on the west side of the fault. So we're going to have problems, you know, getting those that material to us if there's a big one. They say all the freeways are going to be out except for the 8 in San Diego. How they came up with that, I have no idea. But if you're planning on moving down to San Diego, you might want to look around the 8 freeway. We have a lot of resources. It's just going to be a matter of how long it's going to take for us to get to them. That's the problem. You must be self-sufficient. The big one they say is going to be somewhere around 7.8. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room has experienced an earthquake, am I right? And it lasts, it's lasting forever, and then you hear on the news that it lasted for, 7, 8, 10 seconds. Can you imagine if it's lasting greater than 3 minutes, nonstop? But that's what they're forecasting. Fault offsets as much as 30 feet. Severe damage to lifelines across the fault, aftershocks, and so on. So it's going to be something like we've never experienced before. This is up in Napa Valley. It's no big deal unless your house was right over here. Then it might affect you. This was only an 18-inch offset, so it wasn't that bad. Every time I go to Home Depot, I think of this picture, where they've got all these big items stacked up on the shelves. They do have them secured, but in a real big earthquake, I don't know. But when you're walking with your grandkids in the stores and things like that, keep this in mind. Injuries are usually from falling objects, damage to building infrastructure, financial loss. You're talking about keeping the money here in Banning. But if these businesses are affected by it, it's going to be long-lasting. So it's going to be a long-term impact on the region. Utilities are going to be out, roads, rail, EMS, groceries, pharmacies, gas stations, no electricity, no pumps, no gas. Hospitals are going to be overwhelmed. Getting information is going to be critical, and you need to care for yourself and your neighbors and your family. 911 responses are going to not be available. Windshield surveys. What they're going to do after a big earthquake like that is they're going to drive through your community, and you'll see the fire trucks and the police cars driving through, but they're not stopping. They're just observing what kind of damage is done so they can report back to the cities and the counties as to how big of an event this really is. Help will come, but it could be anywhere from 7 to 10 days. You're going to be the first responder for yourself, for your family, and your friends and neighbors. So we need to be self-sufficient. Equipment's going to be damaged. Firehouses are just as susceptible to an earthquake as your home. So if something is hurt, if a fire department firehouse is damaged, they may not be able to get their equipment out. They may not be able to get their people in to operate the equipment. Even the Red Cross shelters, as fantastic as we are, we're just like the police and firemen. When there's a major incident like that, we're all told you take care of yourself and your family first, and then you report for work. So things like that delay. Oops. Again, this is just kind of repeating. They're going to be firefighting and handling the big issues. They've all taken the oath, the greatest good for the greatest number of people. So if you're sitting there with a broken ankle, it's not very high on the pecking list. What to do in an earthquake, this for everybody, is drop cover and hold on, okay? There's a lot of other things out there that are myths, and they swear on YouTube that it's the best way to go. This is the best way to go, and everybody from FEMA to everybody, just drop cover and hold on. It's your best chance of surviving. If you're inside, stay inside. If you're outside, stay outside. But just make sure you move to an area that's clear from overhead wires or buildings, siding that can be falling off. Anything that can fall down, you want to clear away from. If you're in bed, stay in bed. I'm all for that. You've got blankets, you've got pillows that you can put over yourself until the shaking stops. How many of you have a big mirror or a big painting right behind your bed on the wall? Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. I said, how many of you have large mirrors or paintings on the wall just behind your bed? I did. Well, I do. So you might want to make sure that that is really secured to the wall. You can get these anchors on at Home Depot and Lowe's. And move your bed maybe 6 inches away. So if it does come down, it comes down behind your bed. But that's a very common thing. So if you're in bed, stay in bed. If you have grandkids that are sleeping over, a lot of people get injuries because parents and grandparents, it starts shaking, they jump up out of bed and they go running in to, protect their child. And that's when they get hurt. They're stepping on glass, they're getting knocked over. Red Cross has a great program, and I'm trying to think of the name of it, the Pillowcase Project. It was created with Disney, and they provided us with pillowcases and crayons and markers, and I think it's 3rd through 5th grade, we do a little presentation to them to put things in their pillowcase that they would need in case there was an earthquake or they had to evacuate. So they'll put, a little flashlight in there. They'll put snacks in there and, things like that. And they basically taught, if you're in your bed, stay in bed. And that way mom and dad or grandpa, grandma don't have to go running. If you're driving is really bad because a lot of times you can't tell that there's an earthquake. And that's really serious. But if you think there is an earthquake, safely pull over and park the brakes and keep your seatbelt on, and then drop cover and hold on. Just lean over your seat, cover your head, and protect yourself. Sometimes you're driving and there's an earthquake and you think there's something wrong with my car. It's vibrating. So what do? Instinctively, is you look down at the instruments, right? And you're coming around this turn. Not a good day. So what was it? The Oakland Bridge that collapsed? Did you see the video of cars just driving and just falling off because they couldn't tell that it had collapsed? Don't keep driving. Know your limitations. We're all up there in age. Realize that. If you can't drop to the floor, and if you're like in a wheelchair, set the brakes, and then cover your head and neck, and just hold on and ride it out. If you have time and you can't take cover under a table or something like that, move towards an interior wall away from windows and away from the big chandelier that's right over your head. You don't want to be there when things start falling. Make yourself the smallest target and just drop cover and hold on, ride it out. Shift happens. So many people are injured because of things falling, pictures, cabinets. You don't want that 72-inch TV falling on the ground and breaking. You want to make sure you protect that first. But we have programs that are funded by Southern California Earthquake, USGS, National Science Foundation, all these organizations, FEMA, they all agree with these tactics of, secure your items and drop cover and hold on. Secure your space. I'm just going to kind of go through this fast. Like I say, Home Depot and Lowe's have kits that they sell that you can secure just about anything to the wall so it won't go anywhere. Use it. See if you have a handyman in the community that can install them for you. But make sure they're really secure tight. I have a 4 or 5 drawer filing cabinet, and this thing weighs a ton. And I figured I don't have to secure this. But one day I had the top drawer open, and it started going over on me. Luckily, I was able to stop it, but the shaking, the drawer opens, that thing is over, and that could kill somebody or a child. Again, securing your homes, wall hanging, anything that could come loose, cabinets with dishes. I told my wife, if we have an earthquake and we lose all our dishes, I'll buy you new dishes. I am not going to go through those little, infant catches and things like that they recommend. So I'm willing to sacrifice there. learn how to secure, and you can go to daretoprepare.org and learn how to do all of that. Again, if you go to the hardware stores, they sell the items there, and of course there are instructions with them. Get a kit, make a plan, and be informed. That's important. Get a kit, you can go out and buy them. Home Depot sells them, I know. I see them there. 2 or 3 day kits, and they're, I don't know, $35, $40, something like that. They're not very good, but you'd have to supplement them. You can personalize it, and you need to put, they say, stress relief, if you have kids especially, or if you have a pet, you know, bring a book for yourself, bring a ball for your pet, things that you can, you know, relax and relieve the stress with. And have a kid everywhere that you spend a lot of time, at home, in your car, at work. It can happen at any time, so you need to be prepared at any time. If you have grandkids in school, I know when my kids were in school, which was a long time ago, they had a little shoe, each one of them had a shoebox with items in it that, in case they had to get locked down, it just never happened then, but whatever reason they had to stay there for any length of time, they would have snacks, change of underwear, things like that. So it's important that the kids in school be prepared as well. Water is a top priority, and they recommend 1 gallon per person per day. 1 gallon per pet per day. Now, your dog's not going to drink a gallon of water. Mine might, but most dogs aren't going to drink that much water. But you're not only going to use it for drinking, but also for, you know, cleaning and washing and staying safe. 7 to 10 days at home. You know, I'm not familiar with, I'm assuming that you have water heaters in your garage. Okay, usually they're, you know, like 40 gallon, something like that. I'm lucky I have a 75 gallon water tank, and I have a solar hot water heater, so I have another 80 gallons. So I have all kinds of water that I have on reserve there that I can use. But I also have, we go to Costco and we get anywhere between 6 and 8 cases of water that we have there. And we get a new case. It's a pain, but you know, I put the new case on the bottom and rotate them around so the older cases are up on top. Have water, have a gallon of water in your car. You could get stuck in your car. If you get evacuated, if you need to be evacuated, take as much water as you can with you. Prescriptions, we mentioned that before. Start building a reserve of prescriptions so you have 7 to 10 days of medication. If you're going to bring canned food, make sure you have a can opener and not an electric one. Flashlights. You know, if you're putting D batteries in a flashlight, you know, go over to Harbor Freight or something like that. They sell these little flashlights. They're LEDs, and they use like 2 or 3 AAA batteries, and they last a long, long time. You know, I always carry a flashlight, and it's an LED, and they have ones that are smaller than that. They last a long time. First aid kit. Absolutely have a first aid kit. And you know what else? Know how to use it. You know, that's important. Take first aid CPR classes. redcross.org, you can sign up. A radio, you need the information. You need to get the latest and the greatest. Battery is fine if you have spare batteries. They have solar and crank. I have one that's all 3. And I've never changed the battery in it. They're probably all corroded and everything else because I keep it charged with solar, and the worst case scenario, I'd have to crank it for a while. But you know, you want to be able to get on your local radio stations, NOAA for you know, weather and things like that. Have a sturdy pair of shoes. I strongly recommend that you keep an old pair underneath your bed in case you have to get out and there is broken glass. You can just reach under the bed, have a spare flashlight in the shoe, and you're good to go. I mentioned the small bills and a whistle. You know, cheap little whistle could save your life. Look at all these people in Turkey, just trying to make some kind of noise to be found. A whistle could be very, very important. Make a plan for evacuation. Have at least 2 evacuation routes from every room. Your bedroom has a door, probably out to a hallway or something like that. Where's the other exit? Oh, yeah, going out the window. If you're up on the second floor, you might want to invest in one of those, I call them a rope ladder, but they're not made of rope anymore, that you put on the windowsill and you can make your way down. I have 2 of those in my house. I'm on the second floor. And that's just for my kids when they come to visit and friends. Meeting places, where are you going to meet? In the house or outside of the house? Involve children, if you have caregivers, make your family part of the plan. So many times we have people come to the shelter and their caregivers have no idea where they are. And then we have to start hunting them down. And practice your plan. Usually, when you turn the clocks back and forth, it's a good time to do it. By the way, Sunday, change the clocks. Make a plan as far as communications. Communications within the state, within the area, more than likely will be non-existent. And for some reason, and I don't have a clue why, who is it? You work for AT&T? Who worked for A&T? I was talking to somebody today. Oh, they probably left. For some reason, you can make calls out of state easier than you can make calls within the state. Now, I've got a real problem because my out-of-state contact moved here. So that's a problem. How many of you are on Facebook? Well, not many hands up. I'm glad to see that to some degree. But Facebook, when there's a major disaster, will have a find your friends and family section added to it. So you can go on Facebook and say, had to evacuate, we're at the Red Cross shelter at so-and-so and so-and-so street. And that way people can go on there and find out that you're okay and you're safe at a shelter. Being informed, a lot of cities have a shelter location. Know where your Red Cross training, again, redcross.org, and you can get as much training as you like. First aid, CPR, AED. I did a thing for a community in Palm Desert yesterday, and we did hands-on only CPR training. And then after I got done, they had a doctor that was living there, and he went through the AED with them, how to use the AED. Important things to know. But first aid and CPR, really important. How many of you are familiar with CERT? Oh, I'm sorry, question? Excuse me? You had a class here?
Okay, we're not going to ask any questions until he's finished with his presentation.
Oh, okay. Write that down. CERT is a civilian emergency response teams, and it's a national program where the fire departments train small sections of the community on how to protect themselves after a disaster. They do first aid, they do a little bit of firefighting, search and rescue, things like that. It's a great organization, and a lot of homeowner associations get their people trained through CERT. Okay. Bert, we'll go through that. Work towards building the kit as a normal routine, and just add items to the kit. You don't go out and spend all this money at one time. Just add things to the kit as you go along. There's one handout in the packet that you got, and it says 21 days, and it talks about putting a kit together. And the end of 21 days, it doesn't have to be 21 days, it could be 51 days, you'll have a kit together. The main thing is that you start working towards that. So again, you started off by coming to this meeting. You can take that second step this evening when you get home and put a box of Band-Aids in your bag. Shift happens. Be be proactive and start securing things in your home. It's amazing how many people get hurt just from things falling and tipping over. Earthquakes, we want to drop cover and hold on. And practice that wherever you are. If you're in the living room watching TV, you know, where am I going to go if it starts shaking? If you're in your bedroom, where are you going to go? You're going to stay in bed if you're in bed. But if you're not in bed and it starts shaking, where are you going to go to protect yourself? Make sure you get a kit and personalize it with what you need. Buying one off the shelf is not going to provide you with everything that you need. Have an evacuation plan and a communication plan. Be informed. That's including CPR and first aid. Make preparedness a part of your regular routine. I pretty much do that every day. Before I just bring this to an end, I'd just like to let you know that the Red Cross has free apps in the app stores, Apple and whatever the other one is. They have a first aid app. It's excellent. You know, hopefully we all take first aid classes and we forget, you know. So you can open up this app and go to, you know, problems breathing, you know, vomiting, headaches, splinter, something in your eye, and it will go down the list and tell you, you know, how to treat it. It's a first aid app on your, if you have a smartphone. So you can go to your phone's store and get that app. It's free. If you have pets, we have a first aid app for pets, which is incredible. How many of you have taken first aid classes for your pets? I'm shocked. You know, you can open the app and, you know, maybe help your dog, and at least until you can get him down to the vet. So there's another one called Emergency. And if it hits the fan, you get notifications that where you are, there's a problem, and you'll get an emergency notification. So this is just a couple of the apps that we have. Excellent ones on the first aid. So now you need to get a kit, make a plan, and be informed, okay? I really hope that you take this to heart. As I went through and I told you earlier what I've seen when I've gone out on responses, people just not being prepared and suffering. It's not necessary. You can make your life so much easier for yourself and your family by just getting your act together. So I hope you go home and you do that. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ken. Before anybody leaves, I'm going to have Candace come up here for just a second. She's our EPAP coordinator, and she goes along with this. So, Candace, if you would just like to say a few words.
You want to see if they have any questions?
We will do that, yes. Hi, for all of you that don't know me, my name is Candace Jenkins, and I'm one of the executive team members for EPAP. So all of the information that he has given to you, much of that is on our website. And for those of you that don't know our website, you can reach us through sunlakescc.com, go to community info, scroll down to EPAP, open that up, and there's a lot of information about how to be prepared and what to do to get prepared. On Monday, we will have a pharmacist from the Loma Linda University Pharmacy on Highland Springs, and he's going to talk to all of us about how we can accumulate that 7-day supply of medications that this gentleman was talking about. So he's going to go through that in depth on how to do that. He's also going to talk about the Medicare D changes that might affect some of our residents here. But the EPAP website has a lot of information. We post things both on Good Day Sun Lakes and on Channel 97, updating you for CERT classes. He mentioned the CERT classes. They offer those within the Riverside County, and we try to get those on our website. So a lot of good information. It's at 10:30 in the restaurant, not the dining room. I was told that I have to say restaurant, or I should say restaurant. We have a restaurant, not a dining room. So it's at 10:30 in the restaurant, and he'll be here. Like I said, he'll talk about what the process is that you need to go through to be able to accumulate those medications and answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Candace. We're going to open it up for questions.
I first have a couple comments. Many of you might remember the Alaska earthquake that happened. It sent a tsunami down the coast of North America. I don't know if you know it or not, but the water in San Francisco Bay actually dropped 6 inches as it came by that big bay. That's a lot of water to move in a short period of time. One of the things I've learned I do in every building I go into, matter was, especially if it's a new building, I'm always looking for the way out of that room. Because most of the time, if you go in a strange building with a lot of people, they're going to head for the exit, and you may not be able to get there. So I suggest anytime you go into a restaurant, a theater, wherever you go, first thing you want to do is I have to find how to get out of this room. Look for your exits, because you may have to find one of those. Questions, anybody?
I purchased an emergency packet that was sold, I don't know how many years ago here. It's a big bag, and I keep it in my car. How long are those good for?
Well, I don't have a clue as to what's in that bag, but you take a first aid kit, for example, bandages and wraps, things like that, they deteriorate, especially in a car that gets really hot.
Okay.
It's not, it takes a toll on a lot of that stuff. So I would go through it and just look at it, and usually you can see how bad it is. Check expiration dates, if you had, like aspirin or something like that in there or whatever. If you had any type of food, see what the expiration dates are on them, and just, change them out.
Okay.
But it's a
'cause
good thing to
it's
have something in your
not
car
just
as well.
It's not just a small bag. It's one of the big bags.
Yeah, but if you have it in your car during the hot weather for many months on end, you need to check it out, because there is definitely going to be some deterioration of something in that bag.
For sure, yeah.
Further questions, anybody?
I'd just like to add one more thing. I just looked down and noticed I had it here. You may have heard of MREs. Thank you. My mind just went blank. MREs, Meals Ready to Eat. And this is a different brand. This is Heater Meals. I have 4 packs of these, and there's 12 meals in each pack. They're delicious. I love them. And when they start reaching their expiration date, guess what I have for lunch? They're really good. Go online. Just look up Heater Meals or MREs, and you'll find all kinds of places that sell it. They have all different types, vegetarian. It's a variety pack, if you will. Sure. This is expired, so don't eat anything in there. What's nice about it is you can have a nice hot meal. And it's, when we have shelters, sometimes we have to bring in these to feed the people if we can't get somebody to provide the food for us. But it's got a little packet in there, and 2 little packets, and you take one packet, it's got water in it, and you pour it into this other packet, and then you put the meal that's in a foil packet into the bag and fold it up, and you wait a couple of minutes. Have you ever opened up microwave popcorn? How that steam can just burn the skin off your hand? That's how hot it gets. No, it's amazing. So when we have shelters and we have kids in the shelter, I do this magic trick, and the kids eat it up. But they're really good meals. It's expensive. Like for 12 meals, I think last time I paid was close to $60 for 12 meals. But it's not really that bad. But if you consider yourself, evacuated or sheltering in place, these are good meals. Good meals. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you about coming here and doing the same thing that you did. Where was it then? Palm Desert? you know, like CPR?
Oh, the hands-only
Hands-on?
CPR?
I mean, did you do that? Did you have a class?
Yeah, we do that. Well, yeah,
Red Cross will come out and do any training you want. All you gotta do is go to the local one. Red Cross will come out and do all sorts of official training, first aid, CPR. All we have to do is request it through the local office, either Palm Desert or Riverside. It's up to Sun Lake to do that. They'll send out a qualified person. If it's a large group, they'll send out 2 or 3 volunteers, and you get an opportunity to learn. One other thing that's always recommended to me is your gas tank in your car should never get below 1/4 of a tank, period. That may be the only way you get out. You don't want to have no gas, and you look at your gas gauge, you got a nice, beautiful road out of this fire that's behind you, but you got no gas. So always keep your gas tank at least 1/4 of a tank.
actually, the new saying is half
Oh,
is
half?
half is the new empty.
Okay.
I'll just give you a quick story. My wife and I were going down to Florida for a hurricane, and as we were driving in, of course, everybody's evacuating and leaving, but it was amazing how many vehicles we saw on the side of the road that were out of gas. It's when you live in an area that has those problems, and we do. Think about it. I've actually gotten my wife to fill up the tank of her car when it gets down to half.
I'm a survivor of the 2 biggest earthquakes. It's the Sylmar earthquake and the Northridge. I lived in Northridge, about a mile from its epicenter. One of the things that I suggest to people, and I give earthquake preparedness, is after the earthquake and things settle down, go to the bathroom, fill your tubs with water, as much water as you can. Just turn the water on and go. It'll come in all dirty and yucky, but you can use your. The other thing is get your car out of the garage, because the first quake, you may not have electricity, but you can open the garage door. If you wait too long, the garage might tweak, and you won't be able to get the car out. So park it on the street. You have a radio in your car, most of us, except some of these new cars, you have to have, I don't know, it doesn't have a regular radio.
Yeah, the new electric cars don't have
Yeah.
AM radio.
So those are a couple of the things. One funny thing is that I have a big go bag that I can either put on my back or it has wheels, I can pull it. And it's still in my car. I mean, I was on the road a lot. One time I was doing a trade show out in the desert, and I was in high heels all day, and I thought I'm going to Costco. So I went in to get my shoes that I have in there, and they looked great. They were old walking shoes, and so I put them on, and before I know it, I thought, oh, I stepped in gum. Well, by the time I got in the store, the soles had rotted and were falling off. I felt like a homeless person.
Well,
so you really have to, even though they look perfect when I put them on, they don't
Yeah.
last.
And remember, you're storing this stuff in a car. You get into triple digits all the time around here during the, in the car, if it's 102 out here, it's 150, 160 degrees inside a car. So you're just baking this stuff.
One other thing we may want to remember too, we don't want to talk about it, but if the water is not running, guess what happens to the toilet? That's all I'm going to tell you. Questions? Anybody? Comments?
Okay, let me just make one more comment since you brought that up. I'm assuming that you have pools in different areas. I don't know if you have personal pools or community pools, and lakes. Home Depot, Lowe's, they got those beautiful buckets. And that's, I have probably a dozen empty ones. And fill those up with pool or lake water, and you can flush your toilets.
There you go.
You just, do your thing, and then pour water into the bowl, and all of a sudden you'll see it go down and away. Hopefully, the drain pipes haven't broken, and the sewers, it's something else to consider, but you'll find out soon enough. Yeah.
I just wanted to say in the heat, we always carry a cooler in the car because we have a Great Dane. So I'm always making sure I have plenty of snacks, water in the cooler. You get a flat tire on the fruit, you always have your ice cold water because your water does get, hot.
Yeah, it's funny, we never did that for our kids, but we do it for our pets.
Any more questions, comments?
Yeah.
A barbecue that you use a tank on, you can still get hot water, you can cook, you can take your food out of your refrigerator or your freezer. And we had that, and we just cooked it all up and gave it to the neighbors, because there was no way out. And for about 3 or 4 days, we didn't have electricity or water.
You know, look at these people up in the mountains. You know, they've gone all through their food already.
Last chance, anybody, questions, comments? Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your attention. And
Thank you, Ken. I totally appreciate you coming out here and sharing all this information for us. Don't forget, next month, 5 o'clock here on the 7th, and 4th. I keep wanting to say the 7th. It's actually on the 4th in the evening, 5 to 8, Business Expo. You don't want to miss it, and we're going to have light refreshments. Plus, there will be door prizes. So please come on out. Thank you.